Hi, here we are at the College Board's website for the profile application. My name is Karen Cooper. I am the Director of Financial Aid at Stanford University, and I've been working with the profile for a long time, so I want to give you some tips and tricks for working through the profile. So I've logged in with my College Board ID. You get your College Board ID. You may already have one if you signed up for an AP class or have taken an SAT exam. If you don't have one yet, they're easy to get to sign up for. So I've already logged in, and I love that we've got this red here telling you to click here before you begin. And what this does is bring up another page with lots and lots of detailed instructions. So if you are the type that likes to read lots of instruction, please feel free to go through this page in detail. But we're actually just going to close this window and start the process here. The profile is basically 3 steps. You register for the profile, provide some basic information about yourself, and then the application is customized for you. This customized pre-application worksheet will become available after you have gone through the registration step. And then you complete your own data and submit the application. So we're going to get started with registering. So here we are starting the registration, and the very first thing it asks for is a Social Security number. On the profile, because you're not applying for federal aid, of course, the Social Security number is an optional field. Many students are uncomfortable about providing their Social Security number so often through the college application process. I do recommend, however, that you provide your Social Security number on the profile if you can, because what it does on the school side is it allows us to match you up with the rest of your data, your FAFSA information, your admission application, without any concerns about the data going elsewhere. So please do provide your Social Security number if you can. Basically, same information about your name. Again, remember that we're matching up all of this information, so it's important that you use a consistent name through the whole process. So basic information. Let's continue. Ask for your address, mailing address. So this is likely what the financial aid office will use to keep in touch with you. There is space to provide a telephone number. And if you want us to call you, please provide it there. Next, we're starting to get some questions about who you are. So what year in college you will be. And much like the FAFSA, this one has the question about, are you a first-year student who has never been to college before, or are you a first-year student who's previously attended college? So we're just trying to understand, might you already have some units completed? If you're just planning on transferring AP credits, that sort of thing, it's fine to go ahead and say never previously attended. If you've taken, maybe one class at the community college, again, it's okay to say never previously attended. Really, if you have been enrolled more than half time, then you should say previously attended. Really doesn't impact the questions you're answering. It just helps us to understand where you're coming from and who you are. So this question is for the schools as well. Has the student ever applied for financial aid before at this institution? So we just want to make sure we're counting you in the right category and are paying attention to your application at the right time. Note too that there is help available in this left-hand column, these question marks, for most of the questions throughout the profile. So if you've got some detailed questions, you're welcome to click on those links to see if they will be helpful. Citizenship status, the questions are U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen. Again, the same as with federal aid. If you are a U.S. permanent resident, for example, you would be an eligible non-citizen. The profile does ask specifically about Canadians because a lot of Canadian filers use the profile and the application is prepared to handle their information. The profile does also collect information from international students. student's current marital status. And these questions have to do with the student's dependency status. Is the student a veteran? Are the parents of the student deceased? Is the student in foster care, etc.? Does the student have any legal dependents? And the technical definition of that can be found here under the question mark. Then it asks questions about the student's tax return. Are you going to file a tax return? Have you already filed a tax return? Or will you not file a tax return at all? So in this example, I will say I'm going to file, but I haven't been able to complete it yet. And I intend to file an easy return as a student. And then this question is just setting up what kinds of questions are going to be asked later about assets. So are you a student that has any complicated stuff going on with assets? Yes or no? Most students are saying no to that question. In this section, we are going to let the profile know which institutions you want to send your profile data to. And every school is going to have their own priority filing dates, which you will see displayed once you choose your school. Now, I've already pre-selected a school that I already know the code for. So if oftentimes schools provide their codes along with their admission materials, if you already know a code, the CSS codes are 4-digit numbers. Then it's easy to find it, or you can search to find the school. The search results bring them up in this column, and you just select them and click add to add them. So you can add as many schools as you want to the profile, but do remember that there is a cost involved. So you want to think carefully about the schools that you're sending the profile to. If you don't find a school on the list, it probably means that that school does not require the profile. So again, before you send the profile to schools, make sure it's required there. So we're going to go ahead with just this one school filled in. And it's asking me, am I going to live on campus or off campus with parents or with relatives? So that, again, is to help the financial aid office understand what your living situation will be. And remember, a lot of schools have policies about first-year students living on campus. So be sure you understand what your options are at that school. So we're still in the registration section. Now we're going to get some information about your parents so we can customize the application form for you. So we want to know what the parents' marital status is. One thing about the profile is it does allow us, schools, to collect information about, for students whose parents are divorced or separated, to collect information from both parents. So there is actually a separate application form that would become available for a non-custodial parent. But we're just going to take the simple case of married parents in this case. So this is confusing to some. The first question is about your biological or adoptive parents, and the second question is about the marital status of the parents whose information you're providing on the application. So if parents had been divorced but are now remarried, you would be providing information about your current parent marital status. Same question as with the students. Do we have a complete tax return or not? In this case, we're going to say, I do intend to file a tax return, it's just not done yet. And the question is, what type of tax return will that be? And many parents end up filling out the 1040, a little more complex of a form. Questions about untaxed income, families who receive temporary assistance for needy families typically are very low income families and have already been through a test of financial status to receive those benefits. So that's a helpful piece of information for us. We ask questions about self-employment because then we can provide different questions as we go through the application itself. So if you're able to say no there, then the answer to these next questions are probably 0 as well. Parents' residency status. Do parents own a home? If you still owe a mortgage on a home, you're making payments, you would still select own home in that category. And the current country of residence, again, to be able to provide you with questions that pertain to your living situation. Now that we've completed the registration step, back on the home page, you can now access this customized pre-application worksheet. And what this has done is, based on the information from your registration, pull together information for you about what the questions are going to be and provided a worksheet for you. If you are more comfortable sitting down with paper and pencil and filling out a form, you'll want to print out this page, sit down with your parents, and go through each one of the questions. These numbers to the right correspond to numbers on the online application and will help you when you're filling out the application itself. So it is possible to print that out, fill out this worksheet before you move on to filling out the online form.